what happens when a trap is set, but the prey turns the tables. In the electric atmosphere of a live television studio, J.D. Vance stood alone on the stage, a man who had risen from the Rust Belt to the national spotlight. The cameras zoomed in, the audience leaned forward, and the host, a seasoned journalist named Claire Dawson, smirked with the confidence of someone who believed she held all the cards. Tonight, she thought, she would unravel Vance's carefully crafted image, expose contradictions, and cement her reputation as a fearless truth-seeker. But truth, as it often does, had other plans. The studio buzzed with anticipation. Claire, with her sharp wit and sharper questions, had built a career dismantling politicians live on air. Her show, The Cutting Edge, thrived on viral moments, and tonight, she had Vance in her crosshairs. He was a polarizing figure loved by some for his raw honesty, loathed by others for his unapologetic stances. Claire's team had spent weeks digging, combing through old speeches, interviews, and his best-selling memoir for ammunition. They'd found it. A single quote from a decade-old interview, taken out of context, that painted Vance as dismissive of the working-class struggles he claimed to champion. The trap was set. As the show began, Claire wasted no time. "Senator Vance," she said, her voice dripping with calculated charm, "you've built a career on being the voice of the forgotten. But in 2015, you said, and I quote, 'The working class needs to stop whining and take responsibility.' How do you reconcile that with your so-called empathy?" The audience gasped, sensing blood in the water. The quote hung in the air like a guillotine. Vance didn't flinch. His eyes, steady and piercing, met Claire's. "You want the truth, Claire? Let's talk about it." His voice was calm, but carried the weight of a man who'd lived the struggles he spoke of. He didn't dodge or deflect. Instead, he leaned into the moment, recounting the full context of that quotey moment of frustration not at the working class, but at a system that trapped them in cycles of despair. He spoke of his childhood in Ohio, of watching neighbors lose jobs to factory closures, of his grandmother's fierce love that pulled him through poverty. The audience, expecting a defensive politician, found themselves captivated by a storyteller. Then came the twist no one saw coming. As Claire pressed harder, a figure emerged from the wings of the stage, a woman in her 50s, her face weathered but proud. It was Marie, a factory worker from Vance's hometown, invited by his team at the last minute. Claire's smirk faltered as Marie took the microphone. "I knew J.D. when he was a boy," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "He didn't just talk about our pain, he lived it. And when my son overdosed, J.D. was there, helping us find treatment programs, not cameras." The studio fell silent. Marie wasn't just a guest. She was a living rebuttal to Claire's narrative. Vance seized the moment. "Claire, you want to talk about responsibility? Let's talk about the media's responsibility. You cherry-pick quotes to fit your story, but you don't live in the towns you write off. You don't see the families fighting to survive." His words weren't angry, they were precise, cutting through the studio's artificial glow. He turned to the audience, his voice rising with conviction. "The truth isn't a soundbite. It's the lives of people like Marie, who deserve better than being props in your gotcha games." The crowd erupted. Claire, for once, had no retort. Her carefully laid trap had collapsed under the weight of authenticity. Vance didn't just defend himself. He redefined the conversation, forcing everyone to confront the gap between headlines and reality. The cameras caught Claire's stunned expression, a rare crack in her polished facade. Social media exploded, clips of Vance's response spreading like wildfire. "Vance fires back" trended for days. As the show ended, Vance shook Marie's hand, whispering something that made her smile through tears. Claire, off camera, stared at her notes, realizing she'd underestimated her opponent. The audience left not just entertained, but moved, reminded that truth could still cut through the noise. Vance walked off the stage, not as a politician, but as a man who'd spoken for those who rarely get a voice. In that moment, the forgotten felt seen. The truth, raw and unfiltered, had won. Yindi.